Michael Chandler is finally back facing Charles Oliveira. Can't wait for it.
I think when a guy is good enough to match him grappling, he's not the same.
But Michael Chandler, it has been 735 days since his last fight.
If he loses, his best bet will be to retire.
Do you think that Charles Oliveira is still at that top championship level? What's up, everybody? Laura Sanko and Dean Thomas here for you to talk about the co-main event of UFC 309, Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler, number 2. This is going to be a great fight, Dean. Very excited to have you here tonight to talk about it. Love the backdrop. You're not in a blue room this time.
This is actually my official setup. I'm home
Is this
now.
your house?
Yeah. This is the crib with my official setup. So it's not completely done yet because I'm always on the road. So
Yeah.
You're
a nomad.
I'm a nomad. I get it done wherever I can get it done. I got all kind of equipment, just play different places. You know what I'm saying? Like all kind of booby traps for equipment set up all over the place. So
Apparently this man from time to time will sleep at the UFC Apex. That's what I've
from
heard.
time to time, I slept at the Apex 4 days last week.
Where did you sleep? Are you serious?
I sleep in the green room.
Are you on that couch?
Yeah.
You're wild.
And I tell you, the hardest part about sleeping at the UFC Apex in the green room is that they have a sensor, and every time you move, the light comes on.
The light goes on.
Yeah,
Dean.
so I have to be very still.
Dean. And you just bring your pillow and your blanket.
Well, I recently just bought a blanket.
What?
I just bought a blanket. I don't have a pillow.
Okay.
I know, but no, trust me, it is absolutely wonderful for me.
Okay.
I have the whole place to myself. I work out. I get coffee. It is amazing. I order food. I got my own private security.
Do you remember that movie? Is it Tom Hanks that gets trapped in a mall?
Yes.
Mannequin.
Yeah.
We're so old. No one watching this video has any clue what Mannequin is. It's a very, very, very 80s movie. Okay, we're getting off the trail way too early here. All right, guys, stay tuned to the end of this video because we are going to talk to one of you, one of the fans who sent us a lovely submission of her thoughts. Guys, we need more than one though, okay? So if you want to get included in the next video for UFC 310, send us your thoughts, your questions, your takes, whatever it is, about 30 seconds to oneononecombatsports@gmail.com. We will take them, we will compile them, we will put them in a video, and we will react, and you can be part of the channel with us, and we appreciate that because I like seeing your faces. We got a handsome bunch of fans, I'll tell you that much. All right, second time we're seeing this fight, so I kind of love that. But Michael Chandler, it has been 735 days since his last fight.
What I shorter than I thought. I thought you were going to say 735 years because it seemed like forever.
It feels like it. How much of a detriment, or maybe it's not, is this giant, ridiculous, ginormous layoff for not health reasons that Michael Chandler has subjected himself to because of the Conor McGregor situation? And I don't fault him for it, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it was a gamble that he had to take.
He had to.
And it was a smart gamble. He just lost, right? Like, that's what this game is about. It's about gambling. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. He lost that battle. I think that it does affect Chandler a bit, being not active. I think Chandler's a fighter who would be better off if he was more active because he can work out some kinks in his style. Because as you see, like Chandler, I don't want to make this sound like I'm bashing Chandler, but when you fight the way Chandler fights, it's kind of a cop-out to your skill set.
Because of the risk taking, you just go out there.
Yeah, because when you say, "Oh, I'm just going to go out there and just go balls to the wall and see what happens," it's kind of a cop-out because you're not really saying, I'm going to do everything in my power to win this fight. Because now you're just saying, I'm going to go out there and just be really super entertaining, and I'm going to take so many just risky chances, and I'm going to live by the sword or die by the sword. And you're not really doing everything in your power to actually win. So in terms of winning a fight, it's kind of a cop-out. So with that being said, apparently Chandler is looking at this fight as if he wants to win and not just put on a fun fight for the fans. Like I think he wants to win. But that's not what he gave us
The
in
first
the
time.
UFC. That's not
No,
what he's given us.
no. Yeah,
And when
yeah,
you
not even in this fight. In
right,
anything. Yeah, yeah,
right, he's never done that for us before. Like even against Dan Hooker, he just went out there swinging and caught him.
yeah.
And Justin Gaethje, boom, swinging up Dustin Poirier, boom. So a fighter like that, it takes momentum to be able to put your skill set together. It takes a little bit of momentum. So it could be a little. It could. I think this layoff for Chandler it hurts him by not being able to get out there and work his skill set a little bit.
But do you think that maybe the maturation and the understanding that he can't approach it the exact same way he did the first time? He's 38, which we know in this division is not your friend. Not that it can't be done, but at the championship level, it's not been done. Uh, so does him approaching this differently for those reasons actually give him more of a chance, though? Because
It could. No, you're right. It could. It could. It takes a lot of mental work, though. It's going to take a lot of mental work for him to be in sync with his emotion and his skill set and his whatever strategy he has in play. Like it's going to like he's going to have to be mature about it. He can't be immature about it and just be like, all right, out the window, time to time to just start throwing these haymakers. No, but
yeah,
he's going to have to be very mature about it. He's going to have just a lot of confidence in what his team and him have come up with and just stick to the game plan. And it could work. Like it could work. I'm not saying it's not going to work. It's harder based
yeah.
on what he's given us from before.
What's crazy too is just how close we were to having a completely different history in the lightweight division, right? Like seconds, a second, a strike, a
Like
different ref.
that's what I was just about to say.
I mean,
Like it's so many conditions in MMA that really changed the landscape of it. A different ref in half of his fights. It's a different landscape of the division.
yeah. And of course, we're referencing the fact that the first time these guys fought, Charles Oliveira was on the verge of being knocked out. I mean, he was in the process of a TKO rolling downhill, and Michael Chandler ran out of time in round one. And then in the one of the crazier, and not only that, I think it's unfair to not talk about the other stuff he did well in that round. Because when you go back and watch it, he does well in Oliveira's guard. He does well laying
Hmm.
damage in Oliveira's guard. He does well uh, defending Oliveira on his back. He threatened with a really deep guillotine. I mean, there was a lot of good stuff to take, but it was a crazy turn of events in that beginning of round two because he just he left his right hand down well within range, right in the pocket, just had no defense to the side of his face and got cracked and then put away shortly thereafter. So, I mean, it's a game of inches, game of less than inches, honestly. What do you
Yeah, I mean,
expect?
and again, I have to insert myself into the history books and into these conversations, but it's partially my fault too that Michael Chandler lost that fight.
How is that?
I got to tell the story.
Okay.
So he did an episode. This is
I wish I
when
had a bowl of popcorn right now.
Yeah, so this is when the UFC was putting money behind me, and we were doing these episodes called the Dean Diaries. I'm not sure you remember that.
I do. I've
But
watched them. Thank you
yeah,
very
so
much.
the
I know
Dean
you guys
Diaries
have.
was when they had pay-per-view events and they were trying to promote some fighters. So I did an episode with Michael Chandler of the Dean Diaries, and we went to his crib. And one of the activities that we did was we watched some film, and we watched film on Charles Oliveira. And yeah, one of the things that I noticed about Oliveira was like, man, he throws one punch at a time. Like he just boom, left hook or just a straight right hand. So I was like, you really just got to worry about one punch at a time. And what happened in the fight? He threw two,
If it
and
makes you
Chandler
feel
got.
better, it was like I think it was like 4 or 5, but it was, you're right. It was like all of a sudden he's putting together these ridiculous boxing combinations.
I was like, I said, oh man,
Oh,
I said it's all my fault. Michael Chandler wasn't expecting a combination. He was expecting the one punch, and he got hit with the second one.
No,
No,
no, Dean.
yeah, I had him misguided, but no. But the reality is, Charles Oliveira is a great fighter,
Yep,
and he's very crisp in his strikes, regardless. His right hand goes right down the middle. His left hook
yeah.
follows it. I mean, he's a very clean striker.
Do you think that Charles Oliveira is still at that top championship level? I mean, because I tend to think yes, but you look at his tapology and he's got, two losses in his last three fights.
He is, but and I hate to say this, and I know this has always been the debate: is he, for lack of better terms, right now, is he a punk? Right? That's been the question. He's kind of a punk, right? Like when things get a little hot, and then he goes down, he knocks out Gaethje, and then he goes down, he knocks out Poirier, right? And then we go, man, he's no longer a punk.
Hmm.
Well, he choked him out, but he's like, well, he's no longer a punk. But is he? Is that true? I still tend to think that he is when a guy has good enough grappling to match him.
Oh. You felt like he got a little overwhelmed by the moment and mentally crumbled a little bit against Sarukian?
Yeah, maybe a little bit, maybe a little bit, maybe a little bit. I think when a guy is good enough to match him grappling,
Hmm.
he's not the same. And I'm not saying he's a punk. I'm using it as a lack of better terms because in no real world, is he a
You don't
punk?
actually think that of him. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, but we just use that in terms of, there's a crack, there's a hole, there's a hole. When you can match him, and when you're not afraid, like whenever he gets knocked down, right? What does he do? Come into my guard.
Hmm.
He uses his guard as a safe place. But when you're not afraid of his guard, I think there's a way to really make him doubt himself because there's no longer a safe place for him. And I think that was the reason why when he lost the belt to Islam, it was like as soon as Islam went down in his guard and he felt the pressure of Islam, he tapped quick to that choke because he was like, yo, this guy is not afraid of me and he's dangerous here.
See, I see that a little bit differently. I feel like he was still rattled from getting cracked. And that's why he wasn't able to defend and move and think the way that he
I
normally
think I
would.
think it's his safe place.
You think so?
I think it's his safe place. It's his crutch when he's hurt, he's got a really strong guard. He's
Mhm.
obviously the most submissions in the UFC, really effective guard, and he believes in it. But when somebody can go into his guard and threaten it in terms of passing or just be dangerous to him, I think there's a moment of insecurity for him to where you can have some advantages. Is But here's the problem though with Chandler. Is Chandler the guy to expose that? I'm not sure Chandler is the guy to expose that though.
I agree, but when I go back to that last fight though, there's moments where you're like, oh, he might be.
I
He
know,
might
I know.
be.
He overwhelmed him. He overwhelmed him.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. He overwhelmed him, no doubt about that. And it was surprising to me to see that. I was actually kind of surprised. But I don't know if that was enough. I don't know if that I mean it was overwhelming for Charles,
Uh-huh.
but I don't know if it was enough like pressure.
Where he would start to mentally like, oh
Yeah,
no.
I mean, because you've rolled with a guy before where you were just like, oh no.
Yeah.
Like when you get a really good top jujitsu guy on top of you, you're just like, oh
Oh,
no. But when
oh,
you get a really good top jujitsu guy putting that jujitsu pressure on your chest and putting his shoulder in your
your
face
throat.
and
Yeah.
he's relaxed and he's doing it, you're just like,
Oh
oh
no. Yeah.
no, get off me.
Yeah.
Tap. It's a difference. It's a difference. And I think Charles knows that difference. And I think when an Armin Sarukian might not have as good as Islam. Islam's got really good top pressure,
Mhm.
but I just don't know if Chandler's the guy to put that type of pressure on Charles.
How do you think this fight is gonna play out? Is it going to look like the first one? Is it going to be close and back and forth and big swings in momentum, or what do you see here?
I know what I said about Chandler, but
You
I
think
think
he's going to be
Chandler.
the same? You think he's going to do the same thing?
No, no. I'm gonna go against. I'm gonna go against my gut. I'm gonna go against my gut here, and I know your boy said I make the wildest takes on here, but I'm picking Chandler to fight a really smart, intelligent fight and to win.
Okay. I don't think that's a overly wild take.
No,
He got really close the first time. I mean, I think that probably more people are picking Oliveira. So in that sense, I get what you're saying, but I don't think you're crazy for thinking that Michael Chandler and that maybe the time off has been okay for him, or at least neutral.
I think that this is a moment for him to prove that he's a good fighter
Yeah.
and not just an entertainer. And I think the time off might have taught him a lesson, and that is to say, you know, I got to the UFC, and now it's time for me to prove that I'm a good fighter. And I think this is a moment for him to prove that he's a good fighter.
Who is it more important to get a win for?
I think Chandler.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, Chandler has under delivered in the UFC, and he's gotten a lot from
Due.
under delivering.
He's due. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Charles Oliveira is going to be loved regardless. But this is a moment where we look at, like, if Chandler loses, this is a moment that we go, he wasn't that good anyway.
Mm.
Or yeah, and it's one of them situations where we go, all right, the UFC acquired a guy from another organization who didn't turn out to be anything.
Yeah.
So
And I would
I
hate
think
that
Chandler
for
has to
him.
win.
I would hate that for him because
Yeah,
I don't feel like he necessarily,
he
uh,
doesn't deserve that,
no.
and I feel like the pressure on him is to win, so that doesn't stick around, that the tag doesn't stick on his back.
And think about what winning opens up. Winning keeps the McGregor fight in play, possibly.
I don't think that's fight gonna happen.
Well, I'm not putting money.
I don't think McGregor coming back at all.
But if he loses, it is for sure not.
Oh, if he loses, his best bet will be to retire.
Yeah, so there's a lot on this. There's a lot on this. But if he wins, the McGregor fight maybe still on the table. I could see him being the type of guy who would get pulled into a BMF type of fight. Um, Winning opens up a lot of interesting doors for him beyond just getting another win at the very top of this division, which I mean that's a huge deal in and of itself. But
If he loses, there's two options for him. There's retire and go out and just be like, man, guys, I gave it up my all. I'm 38 now. I made some decisions in my career that didn't pan out for
didn't
me.
work out, yeah.
I still made a lot of money. I still put on a good show for you guys. Like
That's time. Yeah.
that's where I'm going, right? If I lose, that's the direction I'm going. The only other direction for him to go on a loss is to just accept the Patty Pimlet fight
Oh my God.
and then risk losing that. You know what I'm saying? Like
Dang.
that's the only way to go.
No. We're not doing that.
That no retire, right?
Yeah, we're not doing that. We're not. Yeah, but I mean, we're being funny here, but like to your point, I don't want to see Chandler go down and fight guys. I don't know what Patty's ranked right now, but I don't want to see him fight those guys. I don't really care that much about that. I don't know. It's like I want him in the top five or nothing at all, I guess. Maybe that's not fair for me to say, but
No, but I that's hopefully he just I don't even know why I'm gonna pick Chandler to win because he's my friend, and I got hopes that he surrounded himself around a lot of positive people throughout this time, and they instilled in his head the sense of urgency to be great one last time. That's it. That's my reasoning behind it. is that the people around him have told him, hey, man, listen, you are destined to be great and you got one last chance to do it. You got to do it now.
Yeah.
And I don't know. There's so many different factors in fights that I think that's as good as any of them
Hmm.
for me picking him to win.
I like it. I like it. Let's go to our fan submission for
Ooh.
this fight. Let's hear what lovely Abigail has to say.
Hey Laura, hey Dean. Here's my prediction for the co-main event for UFC 309, Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler 2. I think it's going to be basically the same outcome as it was the first time. I think Michael Chandler, he's been starving for a fight, wanting to fight Conor McGregor, gimme Conor McGregor. He's going to go out there guns blazing like a gorilla, his hands down. Charles Oliveira, he might get hit a couple times. He'll weather the storm as he did in their previous fight, and he's going to get the TKO victory over Michael Chandler when he gets him caught walking around like this. Oh, and also have to add the MMA math to the equation, that being that Chandler has lost to Justin Gaethje and Dustin Poirier, and Charles Oliveira has submitted both of those guys, it's really not looking good for Chandler.
She's got some thoughts. What do you think, Dean?
No, you know what?
I like it.
No, first off, I want to say I want to thank her as a female for stepping up to the plate.
Right?
Yeah, no doubt about this because I'm a gym rat, and like I sleep at the Apex. I'm a gym rat. You know what I'm saying?
He's literally sleeping at the UFC Apex.
I'm a gym rat. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of females in the gyms. There's a lot of female fans, but for whatever reason, they don't really show up and
Yeah.
voice their opinion a lot. And so, Laura, thank you for being a role model to them, and
Oh,
thank you,
thank you.
Abigail, for stepping up for doing this because all the radio shows I do, rarely do we get females to voice their opinion. So I love it. So with that being said, I respect your opinion, and I'm glad you came on and shared it with us.
Yes, I love it. And it's honestly, I'm enjoying this beginning of a journey into like connecting with our fans a little bit more directly. I love seeing faces and like knowing people's names. And now maybe I'll see Abigail in the comments and be able to interact. So, guys, please send in your thoughts on UFC 310 to one-on-one at combat sports. Excuse me, one-on-one combat sports at gmail.com. You'll see it on the screen below. Yeah, thank you so much. Dean, thank you. Abigail, thank you for joining us as always. And guys, thank you for watching. Means a lot. If you press like, click subscribe, helps us so much. A lot more videos for you guys to check out on this channel, along with a main event preview for UFC 309. And we will see you next time.